It's Easter Bank Holiday Monday, boys and girls. Welcome along, Monday, the 26th of April 2019. Welcome along to Bracknell here in Berkshire. And this morning's United Kingdom talk. I had the wrong date up there at the beginning. I keep forgetting to do that. I've got a bad back. I've got to tell you, I've got a bad back. I'll tell you how I did that in a minute. Quite unbelievable, really, how you can get a bad back through doing basically nothing. But I'll tell you about that in a bit. Yeah, sorry, I got the wrong date up there at the beginning. That should have changed. Thank you, Shy, for letting us know that. A very good morning to you, gang. Another beautiful day out there. Oh, yes, they reckon it's going to be the hottest Easter bank holiday since records began. Oh, yes, and we had one yesterday. Had a nice day yesterday, beautiful day yesterday. More today. And funnily enough, I was just watching before I came. I've been watching a lot of television this weekend, actually, with my mate as well. He came over yesterday afternoon and did he go last night? Did he come over? Yeah, he came over last night as well. And we're watching a lot of television, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But just before I came up, can I just turn this down a bit? I can hear a bit of an echo there. That's better. I was just watching David Attenborough's climate change programme, which is available on the BBC iPlayer. I've only seen about the first 10 minutes so far, and it's a real eye-opener, actually. Whether or not you believe in climate change, I certainly do. And it's got these charts. He shows you these charts of temperatures and how they've gone. And it's like, you know, if that's like the last 20 years, it's like this. You know, gradually like that. And then suddenly it shoots up like that. So it's all very well us saying, oh, this is lovely weather. You know, it's not been a cold winter, which of course it hasn't. No one wants a cold winter. None of us want a cold winter. But the fact is, everything's getting damaged. Flowers are appearing at strange times where they shouldn't do. Can we get out of it now? I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think people will change. I honestly don't. I honestly don't think people would. I think some would change, but then again, you know, it's like with the protesters. Yeah, it has to be said, how did they get to where they wanted to get to? They probably took a car or a train, or that woman took a plane. So you just people won't change. I don't think we can get out of it now. I do wonder, and I've mentioned this before, you know Mars, the planet Mars, no atmosphere on there, and I reckon it heated up years ago, didn't they? I wonder if that's what happened there, whether there was sort of humans on Mars, and they mucked it up there, and now we're doing exactly the same thing. I honestly don't, even old Larry Hagman, you remember Larry Hagman? JR from Dallas, who died about 2 or 3 years ago now, he had a ranch and he converted it all to solar electricity. Right? And instead of spending hundreds of dollars a month on electric, it came down to a couple of dollars a month. And they asked him, you know, do you think, you know, we can work through this? And he says, no, I don't. He said, no, I don't. He said, I think it's too late now, but we can have a lot of fun trying. And that's of my opinion as well, to be honest. I had the solar panels put up. I've had them now over 10 years now. You know, I have very, very low electricity bills compared to my neighbours around here. But I honestly don't think we can change now. It's all very well all going protesting in the street. You know, sometimes I do wonder with all these various different protests all over the place, whether they're just looking for something to do. You know, and then they get back in a car and drive home. It's just, do you see what I mean? It's a bit hypocritical. Is that the word? Hypocritical. But there we are. I mean, I drive to work. I drive back. Would I? How else could I get to work? You see, how else could I get to work? Some of you might say, oh, why don't you take a train? Because I've got stuff to carry and I couldn't get it all on there. Be impossible to take it all on there with me. And they say about electricity being green and clean. No, it's not. No, it's not. It still had to be made somewhere. There's still some, just because that coal-fired power station or the gas-fired power station, just because that's not outside your house, doesn't mean that it's not somewhere else. Of course it is. Of course it is. I mean, I love the whole windmill thing, and I love the whole solar energy thing. What I don't understand is why new houses aren't forced to have solar panels on the roof. That would make common sense, wouldn't it? Some for the electricity and some for the water. Okay, not every single house is perfectly suitable, but if you don't need direct sunlight on a solar panel to make electricity. In fact, there was a bloke talking on the radio the other night who said he worked in the solar industry, and the presenter of the programme was Nick Abbott, actually, on LBC. The presenter on the programme was saying he doesn't understand why is it not in all these hot countries with loads of sun and that, why don't they all have solar panels? And the bloke answered to him, in fact, get this, now I never knew this, when the solar panels get too hot, they become much less efficient. Did you know that? You imagine the sun's hitting, they must get very hot, those solar panels, when you think about it, on my roof. Maybe to keep the house cool as well. They might have a double effect there. But I don't think we can actually get out of it, really. I really don't. Anyway, so that's a good thing to watch on the BBC iPlayer, the David Attenborough climate change thing. Give that a watch, boys and girls. Okay. One of the other things I saw on the programme, and it only flashed by quickly, was an aeroplane, and it said Airbus Electric on it. I didn't know Airbus were working on electric planes. I seem to remember some years ago they had a small one, maybe two-seater or something like that they were trying out. It's a few years ago now. Whether or not they got any further with that, I don't know. And whether or not, I suppose, electric planes, where it comes to something like an A380, a great big jumbo jet, I mean, I wonder if they could do it with that. You'd have to have some blooming big batteries, wouldn't you? And of course, the batteries weigh a lot of weight, don't they, as well? So we'll see what happens there. So that was that. I just wanted to mention Diane Abbott this morning. Diane Abbott, who we sometimes take the mick out of here. I quite like her. I like Diane Abbott because she's a character. I like characters. I don't care what party they're from, who they represent or whatever. I do like a character. And Diane Abbott is a character. James Galloway is a character. Nigel Farage is a character. And these people couldn't be further apart on the political spectrum, but they are characters. And I do feel sorry for Diane Abbott, who, for God's sake, was drinking a can of drink on the train. Honestly. Okay, so it had a tiny little bit of alcohol. Was it something like 3% or 5% or 8% alcohol in it? It had a tiny bit of alcohol in it. And there they are, all the papers screaming and shouting, oh my God, Diane Abbott is drinking on the tube train. For Christ's sake, leave her alone for 5 minutes. Honestly. You've never seen anything like it. It's like she'd started the Third World War or something like that. All she was doing was having a little can with a little tiniest minuscule bit of alcohol in it while sitting on the tube train. Come on, lads and girls. Give her a break, for God's sake. She's just thirsty, having a drink. Poor Diana. I'd happily have Diane Abbott in the studio. We wouldn't do politics. We'd have a laugh. And I think you'd see a completely different side to her. No, absolutely. She should not be in government. I know what you're saying. She shouldn't be in government. I know that. And it's illegal to drink on the tube train. Oh, please do us a favour. Get real, will you? All she's doing is having a little drink. I'd love to have her in here. I'd get the tea. Oh, shit, I'd get the tea out. Oh, haven't you got anything with alcohol in it? Oh, what a laugh we'd have. You'd have a good night out with Diana, but I'd tell you. A packed church yesterday, I have to say. Absolutely packed at church yesterday. I'm very pleased to say I have no Easter eggs. I have no, but no, it's a slight lie. Ray, who comes along to the karaoke, not Ray Reynolds, another Ray I know, he comes along to the karaoke very occasionally. He did bring me in a little egg on Friday night when he come along to the karaoke on Friday night. So I had that on Saturday night just as I finished work. We had excellent cabaret on Saturday night down the pub. Vivian Lindsay, I think Vivian Lindsay, who was really, really good. So that was nice on Saturday at the pub. And yesterday, Saturday afternoon, my mate came round and we watch. He always comes around on a Saturday afternoon generally, and I do a bit of lunch. And we watched the last 2 episodes of Star Trek Discovery, which were out of this world. I've got to be honest, I had a bit of trouble following it. I don't know what it is. I am having trouble following television programs now. They seem to have become more complicated. Would anyone go along with that, or is it just me? You're watching something. I used to watch stuff and you knew what was going on and everything. Now, I watch a program, and this happened with Star Trek as well, and I'm like, oh, I don't know, how did we get to this, and how did that happen? And my mate's explaining, well, that's that, and that's that. And no, it's not clicking in my head at all. Don't know why that is. There was a film we watched last night as well, with Tom Hanks in it. And Tom Hanks, he's protecting some sort of virus thing, is looking after this virus that someone had invented to kill off loads of people. Dante's Inferno, I think it was called, or Inferno, maybe just Inferno, something like that. And I was watching that, and I thought, how did we get to that? I keep getting confused at TV programs now. Is that happening to anyone else? Have they become more complicated? Doctor Who? Well, got it. If you can follow any of that, certainly not the series with the delightful Jodie Whittaker, who is a fantastic story. Absolutely fantastic. The series before that, written for Mr. Capaldi, I found that that was complicated, and you didn't know what was going on half the time. I just want to sit there and be blooming well entertained. I mean, with the last series of Doctor Who, that's all become politically correct teaching as history that we know already. I don't need to be taught that. I don't want to be politically correct Doctor Who. I want to be entertained with monsters and people being blown up. Much more exciting than finding out, I don't know, that 2 of the characters happen to be gay. You know, and then you know what I mean. It's like they throw people into the programme sometimes just to make a bloody point. Where's the monsters? We need new monsters on Doctor Who, please. So my mate came around, we watched Star Trek. And after Star Trek, right, we had been shopping before down at Aldi. He wanted some pet food, and I lifted a bag, which it was a little bit heavier than the bags I normally would lift, but nevertheless, I picked it up, no problem at all. And then while the dinner was cooking, I thought I'd water the plants outside from my water butt. So I'm filling up these water butts, okay, lifting the thing outside. And that's quite heavy. Sorry, not water butts, filling up the buckets from the water butt. And they're sort of reasonably heavy, a bucket of water. So I'm taking them outside and filling them up. Didn't think anything more of it. No problem at all. Okay. Sat down, had our lunch, watched Star Trek. And then I got up out of the chair and my back went. You know the 2 soft bits at the bottom? It's kind of there. So I don't know. I must have pulled a muscle or something. And then it really hurt at that point. The relief was, fortunately, sitting down. Okay? Once I've sat down, it's not too bad at all. And it certainly wasn't on Saturday. It was really bad. And I couldn't straighten up. I'm walking around bent over like that all the time. Same at church. I was walking around bent over most of yesterday. At the moment, I'm kind of like that a bit now. And it will straighten up after another couple of days, I would imagine. But yes, I've got a bad back at the moment. And all I did was get out of the chair. I was fine sitting there watching Doctor Who. Then I stood up and And he says, you ain't got a bad back. I said, it's just gone now. There's no click or crack or anything like that. I simply tried to straighten up and the pain. So I've obviously pulled a muscle there now. Oh, the joys of getting older. It just gets worse and worse, doesn't it? So we watched those 2 episodes of Dynasty. Then I went to work, and yesterday, as I say, I went to church yesterday morning. My mate came over again in the afternoon, and we watched the latest episode of Dynasty. And Dynasty, oh yes, and Liz Gillies, who plays Fallon on Dynasty. This is on Netflix here in the UK. I think in America it might be on CBS All Access. But Liz Gillies, she plays Fallon. And she's liked another one of my comments. It doesn't get much better than that. Look at this. My comment was, and I was commenting on yesterday's programme, had me laughing so much in this week's Dynasty, talking about your ex's book and his followers. Both of them. And it did have me in stitches, so I put that there, and I put that under her what's this, not not Insta. Is it Instagram thing? What is this one I've got? Instagram. On her Instagram thing. Would you like to see a picture of her? She's beautiful, actually. She's such a bitch in that program. 1 minute, I'll get a picture of it. Where is she now? There she is. That's Fallon. That's Fallon in Dynasty. Okay? She's great. She's awful. She's such a bitch. And I love it. And she's like, that's the second of my comments she's liked. Life gets better and better by the minute, doesn't it? It really does. So that was Dynasty. Then my mate went home. And I started watching The Murder of Jill Dando. If you're young, you might not know her, but she was a very, very popular news presenter. She did the news and then went on to do the holiday programme and Crime Watch. And she was murdered about 20 years ago. It was all in the paper. It seems like it was yesterday, but it was actually 20 years ago, near enough 20 years, 19 or 20 years, one of those two. And it tells you, goes into what happened and how far the police got. I don't think they ever were sure that they got the right man. I can't remember what happened. That they got one bloke, and eventually he was. I think he went to prison and then he was released. I can't remember. I haven't got that far into it, but it's really interesting, and it shows you news on that day. And there was another news presenter, Jenny Bond. Again, I don't think she's doing it now. Jenny Bond, she was one of the news presenters. And it shows you the news flash that the BBC put out. And it shows you before the news flash and all that. And Jenny Bond's sitting there waiting to do this news flash. And you can hear possibly the producer and the floor manager in the background. They're kind of having a little bit of an argument about how old Jill Dando was. And Jenny Bond's waiting to be told what to say. And all you can hear is, I think she's 37. And someone else says something, and the bloke says, no, she's definitely 37. She's got the same birthday as me. She's 37. And Jenny Bond says, well, what do you want me to say? What do you want me to say? 37. Tell them they're 37. Okay. So she's sitting there like this, Jenny Bond. Because she's quite, she's a bit royal. Do you know what I mean? I like her. Jenny Bond. She's not in anymore. She became the royal correspondent as well years ago, of course. And she's sitting there and saying, okay, what do you want me to say? Okay, so she's sitting there. Good morning. In the last hour, we've just heard that popular TV presenter, and then she goes into it, and it's all like, but very, very upsetting. I liked her very much, Jill Dando, the old newsreader, and as I say, sadly murdered right on her front doorstep. I think it was Fulham. She looks like she didn't live far from my old secondary school, the London Oratory. So, and I don't think they ever really cleared up that case. I don't remember being told that this is the definite person who murdered her or anything. And then they go to interview some people in the street and that sort of thing, you know. So that's well worth a watch as well. Again, on the BBC iPlayer, it's The Murder of Jill Dando. Okay, so that's my day. Right, let's read some of your messages this morning. Good morning to Gary Butler. There's my nephew, Gary Butler. Good morning. Prize for first comment? No prizes, Gary. You know that. Morning to Shania. Morning, Shania. Dr. SRS Gregorian is in the house. Good morning to Shy, mentioning that it's Monday, not Saturday. You're absolutely right, dear. Michael Pullman, hello to you in Australia. Weird City Citizen, happy Easter to you. Katie Ann Patterson, good morning. Mike Reese-Ponto is in Portsmouth, good morning. Michael Lawrence didn't turn up at the pub again on Friday night. Do you know how many times you've stood me up now, Michael? I think it's terrible, mate. Went to a barbecue instead? Well, I bet you didn't have as much fun as we did at our karaoke. A barbecue, dear? How rude are you? Going to a barbecue instead of my karaoke. Morning to Adam the Plumber. Morning, Diane Jeb, you lovely lady. John Parrish, it's his birthday on the 29th. Is that right? That's a whole week away, isn't it? Perhaps if you let us know on the day, unless you've got it set on Facebook, in which case it will come up. Okay, my friend? And then you won't have to tell me. Let's have a look. Adam, very old at the car boot sale in Swanley, Kent today. Cold. Do you mean cold? Where I'm raising money for charity. How is it cold? You must be having a laugh. We got the sun out here. I slept with the window open last night, and there's a reason for that. There's a reason. No, I didn't have bad air. No. I wasn't farting all night long, no. Morning, Adrian Richardson. Mike, are you getting an electric car? No, not yet. I've got a hybrid. If I can't really charge up my electric car. That's the trouble. When my house is not near the road, I have to come off the road and walk down a path past 4 houses to my car. So to get, and I do have a garage, but there's no electrical point in the garage. Okay, I could have an electrical point put in the garage, but it would involve having another supply put in. It couldn't come from my house because it's like, as I say, down a path. So you'd have to dig up the path, put a wire in all the way to the garage, and go across the road. So I don't think they'd be able to do that. My garage is below someone's flat. So I suppose they could tee off an electrical supply there and meter it up. But then that would be a second electrical supply that I have going along with also the standing order. Not standing orders, the standing, what's that called? Standing charge. It would be another standing charge. So, a different account. So not possible for me really to charge. Also, when I'm at the caravan, I only have 16 amps of electricity coming into the caravan. So in the winter, for example, one electrical heater draws 8 of those amps. Yeah? When you put a kettle on, well, that's all 16 gone. So I don't have an electricity supply at either end, really, capable of charging up a car. And that's the only reason I didn't look at one this time. I mean, I've been looking at that and the range thing, the range issue. An electric car, for me, would need to do 250 miles on a charge. But when I say 250 miles on a charge, so I would charge it up for 250 miles, and then I would leave in the middle of winter with the heating full on, and the lights, and the radio, and go all the way up north. Not 250 miles in the summer where you don't need the heating on and it's daylight and you don't need the lights on. Do you see what I mean? There's a big difference. So when they say 250 miles, in the middle of winter, that might be 180 miles or 150 miles because of all that electricity that you're using to run all the other things. So no, I would love an electric car. 10 years ago, I thought it would be just a couple of years before I had an electric car, and I still haven't got one yet. But I've got a hybrid. And if I'm really careful, I can get anything up to about 60 miles to the gallon on that. If I'm not careful, it's more like 40. To be honest with you, when I go up north, for example, tonight, I'll probably get something like 38 to 40 miles to the gallon, maybe a bit lower, 36, anywhere between 36 and 40 miles to the gallon. Going up there, coming back down where I take it really easy. When I say really easy, I'm talking like 50, 55 mile an hour all the way back down to London. I generally get about 52 to 55 miles to the gallon. Yeah, I'd love an electric car, but unfortunately not available at the moment. Good morning to Defcom UK. Vinny He thinks I look like Vinnie Jones. Don't look anything like him. Morning to you. Hello to Tony Carroll, who's in New Zealand. Adrian, what happened to the luxury Easter egg I gave you that I went out? I ate it. Oh, that one. It was like that. That Adrian, he brought in an Easter egg for me on Saturday night at the pub, and it was like that. Honestly. It looked like I took it out of the wrapping and it looked like a rabbit dropping. That's what it looked like, dear. Outrageous. A rabbit dropping. Now, where's the other thing I was going to tell you about? Oh, yeah, there it is. Don't want to miss that one. So I've had that as well. JP says, I can't follow the programmes because my memory is gone. Quite possibly. I just think TV programmes where they're supposed to be entertaining me have become incredibly complicated. Is anyone else finding this out or not? Morning to Antony, who's in Florida this morning. Good morning, Antony. Tony says it's Anzac Day today. World War II Australian New Zealand Army Corps. Yes, I've been in Australia on one of those, actually. Marvellous. And they have all the parades and all that going around, remembering people that have died. Thank you very much. Defcom soft bits at the bottom. Yeah, no, not on my bottom. You know, down the bottom of your back. Okay, so you get sort of near to the bottom of your spine, but not quite there. Go to the left and go to the right, and there's soft bits there. Okay, and it keeps pushing the wrong button. You're pushing a D instead of an S. They are next to each other on the keyboard. I always hit a wrong key actually, and it's the hyphen key. Whenever I go to hit the hyphen key, for example, if I've got something with S, so bean, instead of bean, BEAN hyphen S, I always miss that hyphen at the top there, and I hit the semicolon every single time. Been doing it for years. Funny, innit? And I slow down, and I still manage to hit the wrong key all the time. You keep hitting D's instead of S's, didn't you? Oh, dear. Let's just scroll down there. JP, Jill Dando was lovely. She certainly was. And very pretty. She came across as your sister, didn't she? Jill Dando had no airs and graces about her at all. She just came across as your sister. Such a lovely lady, and missed greatly, unfortunately. Michael, did you watch Line of Duty last night? No, not yet. Not yet. Weird City said the police knew Barry George did it. After he was acquitted, they released a statement saying they were not looking for anyone else in connection with the crime. They got their guy. So I haven't seen the whole programme yet, unfortunately. Last night, trying to sleep so I've gone into my bed last night. Not particularly late. I watched a little bit of telly and played. I'm still practising the songs for next Sunday. You know, those songs that I've been given to play. And I came to bed and I'm just nodding off. And what was I doing? No, I was watching a little bit of telly in bed. I like to watch the news before I go to bed. And suddenly I heard a zzz, and I'm sure I saw a fly go past me. Oh no, there's a blooming fly in here. And it was loud. Not a quiet fly, a loud fly. Sounded like a big bastard. Either that or a wasp. One of the two. Zzz, loud. Zzz, loud. I turned the telly off and I listened. And I thought, no, I can't hear that now. I listened. Couldn't hear it. Okay. So I thought, maybe it's not in here. So I've turned the telly off and I've closed my eyes like that. And I'm thinking, what if it's one of those giant hornets? Now, my mate had one of those in his house. They were trying to get off to sleep. This is last summer, this is. They were trying to get off to sleep and they could hear this buzzing. And he's pulled the bed back and everything. And there's a massive hornet behind the bed, which they got, fortunately. Dangerous thing. Hornets are dangerous. Horrible bastards. And they're big. I had one fly in the kitchen once. I had the back door open and the front door. And this thing, it was like a helicopter. The way it moved. And they don't move fast. These giant hornets, they take their time, mate. Why do they take their time? Because they're not worried about anything. No one's going to hurt a giant hornet. They're not bothered. And this thing came through my house, my kitchen, I tell you, like a helicopter. The way, like that, slowly, watching around. Fortunately, it went straight back out the other door. So, of course, I'm lying in bed. What if it's one of those hornets? And I'm just and then suddenly, I thought, oh no, it's in here somewhere. So now I've had to get out of bed naked. It's not a nice sight. I've had to get out of bed naked. I've gone down the stairs, looking in my cupboard for my can of Raid. Oh yes, insect killer. I thought it's in here somewhere, and I thought, is it safe to spray the Raid in the bedroom where I'm about to sleep? And I thought, well, I don't have much choice. So I've gone back in the bedroom and I've stopped. I'm still bent over, by the way, with a bad back. Remember that. And I'm listening. Nothing. Not a thing. Nope. Couldn't hear anything. I thought, well, I'll give it a spray in here just in case. And I've gone with the spray because I can't see this fly anywhere. Can't see it. I've lifted the bed sheets. I've looked under the bed. I've looked behind the little side cabinet. No fly. So I got the spray and I sprayed under the bed. And then I pulled out the cabinet and I sprayed behind it. Excuse me. Excuse me. Oh. I sprayed behind the filing, behind the little bedroom cabinet, and I thought I'd just spray some in the air for good job. And I could hear it, and there it was. Where do you think it climbed under? From my pillow, waiting to eat me. Excuse me. And there it was. Now it's on the bed sheet. Now it's on the bed sheet. I've got my spray. Psst, psst. Raid. And then I grabbed a tissue and got it. Down the toilet. There we are. Of course. The fly's gone now. But I've now sprayed my sheets with Raid. And I thought, you better not sleep on that. So now 1:30, I don't know what time it was, 1:15, something like that in the morning. And I thought, I'll have to change all the sheets. Oh, well, I'll do the duvet cover as well. And I'm changing all the sheets at that time in the morning. Oh, Christ. I was tempted last night to change my flannelette sheet for a summer one, but I thought, maybe not yet. But I have now changed my duvet for a summer duvet. I've gone down a tog. I've got 3 duvets. I've got a winter one, a sort of middle one, and a summer one. I've now changed my duvets to the middle one. The other one's gone back in the cupboard, and it's got like a cotton cover on it. Nice and it's green colour it is. Green with little flowers. So I've changed the whole bed, got into bed. I thought I'll leave the window wide open because I've been spraying the Raid in it. I mean, I don't know what it's like. It's probably safe for humans, I suppose. Left the window wide open and went to bed. And I had a good sleep last night. Thank you very much. Oh, fly in the room. There's nothing. Zzz. You're sleeping. Oh, just do it. Awful. Awful. Good morning to Ross. Good morning to Ross. Emily's watching. She says you have a smelly bum. Tell her she's a poo head. Emily is a poo head. Poo head, poo head. That's what my great nieces and nephews call me. A poo head. Great nephew Harry calls me other things which can't be mentioned on this programme. It's funny. Weird City, I should do audio books. Do you think so? Oh, look, Adrian, look. Well, it looks like you're surviving the raid. Perhaps you be naked might have scared off the poor little creatures. Katie, I hate it when you slap a mozzie, miss and slap yourself. Oh, they're annoying as well. I had a mozzie once in Italy. Years ago this was. And it was only one. I thought, I'll ignore that. And that buzz gets louder and louder as the night goes on, doesn't it? I had to get up eventually. Couldn't have that noise buzzing around me all the time. Thank you very much. Sophie says, that's Ross's little girl. Sophie says, you have a head like a jacket potato. Well, get some beans and you can put them on my head then and eat those if you want to. That's all the news. That's the latest news from London, boys and girls. Now we've got some news stories for you this morning. Let's have a look at this. Now, I'm very impressed with this sort of story in the Daily Mirror today. All these people who are lazy. Oh, I can't get a job. Oh, I stay in bed till 2 o'clock because I can't get a job. Oh, shall I play some computer games? I can't get a job. Don't know what to do with myself. Got no money. No money. Look at this boy, 16 years old, in the Daily Mirror. Teenager from North London. A schoolboy who turned £150 into £63,000 in just a year, has credited YouTube tutorials and Brexit for his success. This boy, Edward, 16 years old, spotted a foreign exchange market trader boasting on Instagram how much money he made by posting pictures of flash cars and designer clothes. And the college student asked him for advice. This is in this morning's Daily Mirror. The teen sensation said his biggest gains have come from following news stories about key Brexit negotiations. He buys currencies when they slump, waits for them to be worth more, and then sells them. When he approached the Insta-famous trader, he told Edward, without formal training, he would never make it. But determined to prove him wrong, Edward spent hours watching YouTube videos and was dedicated to making his mark. Sat at home, he watched videos on how to make money by buying, exchanging and selling global currencies online for a profit. And in 8 months, he turned £150 he made by handing out leaflets in a train station into £63,000. The boy Edward from Tottenham believes he's the UK's youngest Forex trader, Forex, and says he doesn't know any traders his age who are making serious money. He's good at Forex trading. He now charges more than 100 clients up to £120 an hour for tips. This boy's 16. His savings, his cash for a £30,000 Mercedes A-Class when he's old enough to drive, and also wants to treat his single dad and siblings to a holiday in America. He lives with his dad, who's a security guard, and his brother and sister, and says, I keep up with the news because it makes a massive difference. Right now, the pound is very volatile because of Brexit. It's unreliable and it's changing all the time. I have to take an interest because the pound is affected by Brexit, and I have been taking advantage. And it goes on some more of his stories of what he is hoping to buy and stuff like that. But I'm always in great awe of young people who have taken control of their lives. Okay, you might not get a job in a factory anymore. At some point, you won't get a job driving because all the cars will be automatic. You know, a lot of jobs are disappearing. And they go out and find their own thing. My niece, she hasn't got it now because she's moved to Cyprus, of course. But she borrowed some money and opened her own hair salon. One of my nephews buys and sells stuff on eBay. And he looks in papers and that, and local papers as well, and marketplace. He might see someone trying to get rid of something, and he goes and picks it up, sometimes for nothing, repairs it or fixes it up or cleans it up, and then sells it on for a profit. And my other nephew has a car repair business where he fixes scratches and all that in cars. He was 19 when he borrowed, I think, £4,000 or £5,000 from the bank, and turned it into a very successful business. Sometimes he goes into work at 4 o'clock in the morning because he's so busy. He's good at his job, fixing those cars. And this boy's learnt stuff on YouTube. I'm in great awe of young people who go out there and seek to find something that they might be good at and come back with success. Of course, there are people that go out there and fail. There's probably other boys, just like this one, who's tried to do the same thing as him and have failed. But that doesn't matter, because you tried. You blooming well tried. All these people, not necessarily just young people and all that, who just sit on their fat, lazy arses all day long, taking in the benefits, dear. Half of them going on marches up in London in climate changes and various other protests like that. Let's see how you get on with that if there were no benefits, mate. Oh, it's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Good morning to Rob Shaggy Kershaw this morning. Morning to you, sir. Morning to you. John says, what are you good at, Chris? Nothing. I'm not good at anything, John. I'm not really good at anything. I've always had a very low opinion of myself. That's the absolute truth. I've always had a low opinion of myself and what I do, including DJing, playing the piano, sitting here talking to you. So that's the true answer to that question, John. I have a very, very low opinion of everything that I do. Okay? Seeing as you asked, thank you. Good morning to Daniel Rolfe. Good God, where have you been, dear? Must be about 1.5 years since we saw you. Daniel's down in Camberley near that wonderful Tesco's, which is open 24 hours a day. A very good morning to you. Good morning to Brad. What's more important, identity politics or policy politics? I would say policy politics. Policy politics, I suppose, Brad. Yeah, where you would vote for a party because of what they're going to do. I've often said, when it comes to politics, you're never going to agree with everything that Jeremy Corbyn says, everything that Theresa May says, everything that Nigel Farage says. But you go with the party who is more in line with what you think, if you see what I mean. You know, you're not going to get everything. It's all about compromise, isn't it? It's all about compromise. So you think that perhaps Jeremy Corbyn is doing more that you agree with than Theresa May, you're going to vote for him. Yeah? But you probably don't agree with every single thing that he says. There are people in the world, and I know a couple of them, who, whatever the person or the party, or the person running the party says, oh, yes, you're great. Oh, you're great. You're great. Let me bow down to you. There are people like that. Very, very strange and mysterious, I must say. All right. I haven't done my text messages, have I? Some text messages. Oh, just a second there. Bring that up there. Good morning to Maureen joining us this morning. Morning to the young Maureen in London this morning. And Simon. Good morning to Simon Keane, who says, reference to fitters. Oh, hang on. I have quick fit fitters. I have 2 pals that work there. Give them a shout out, please. Feel sick and Reese-light. Reese-light ring. Fool. Shut up, Simon. Referring to the NHS. Here we go. Oh, hang on. What's this? What's that? Oh, no. No. Reference to our NHS and the suicide story. Yes, we were talking about in America, some boy tried to commit suicide. This was on Saturday's show. And they managed to save him in America. And he was then given a £70,000 bill for saving him by the hospital because he didn't succeed. Isn't that awful? Let's have a look there. Reference to NHS and the suicide story. A lot of our accidents are from work-related injuries. So I say this, prevent injury at work. Let someone else do it. It's always coming out with these jokes, young Simon, aren't you? Good morning to Joanna. Hello to Joanna. Welcome to the show. Daniel says, I've seen your cooking videos and you're right, it was dreadful. And you are definitely not a cook. It's a long time since we did a cooking video. Long time. Now, talking of cooking videos, a friend of mine, Tom Edwards, posted this story this morning, which is in the Daily Mail, and I go along with this. The BBC's reliance on bland cooking shows. Now, I've got to be honest, I'm not a fan of cooking shows. You know, why do I want to see someone making a loaf of bread or cooking a steak and kidney pie or something like that? Or on a lot of the programmes, they do what I call poncy food. They muck around with it, you know, do things to it. I've no interest in that at all. That being said, presumably they are popular. These programmes like Come Dine With Me. I can't bear it. I can't stand it. Come dine with me. 4 or 5 people go into a house, you give them a meal, and then they come and slag you off. And that's a TV programme. Not on the BBC. That one's on 4 or 5, I think. Anyway, in the Daily Mail, the BBC's reliance on bland cooking shows, tarred quizzes and low-brow comedies is putting its future at risk, a former executive claims. So see what you think of this. As rivals, and I go along with this, as rivals such as Netflix innovate and flourish, the BBC is becoming marginalised and struggles to justify its licence fee, argued Richard Mosey. For example, as I was saying to you, the Doctor Who. I've not if I missed an episode of Doctor Who now, it wouldn't really bother me. Honestly, it wouldn't. And then they muck around with the scheduling. Suddenly, we have no Doctor Who for a year. How's that happen? Never used to be like that. Doctor Who would start round about August or wherever. You'd have the series every year at roughly the same time. The same as everything else. Whatever the TV shows were, you'd have the series on every year until it ran its course. Now, it's like, oh, we'll just have a year off this year. What's all that about? Recent entertainment shows, says the Daily Mail, have attracted terrible reviews and awful ratings, he said, adding it's hard to imagine that the nation would be poorer if some of the corporation's current broadcasting offerings were lost. He described one recent programme, which I haven't seen, for fact's sake, featuring Mrs. Brown's Boys star Brendan O'Carroll, I don't even know who that is, as an indefensible commission and said viewers deserved more. The quiz show, Pointless, often runs 7 days a week, he noted. Is this really what we want for our money? No, not for me. I just find it bland and boring. And they don't answer the questions quickly. You used to have quizzes. I'd answer a question. You know, what is 1 + 1? 2. Okay, that's correct. They don't do it like that anymore. It's like, what is 1 + 1? And then there's a gap. Well, I don't think 1 + 1 is 3. And I think 5 is going to be too much. Could it be a minus number? I'm going to... 1 + 1... I'm going to go for 2. And then the host will say, is 2 your final answer? Is that the one you're going to give me? Yeah, I'm going to go for 2. Okay, let's ask the computer. Is 2 the correct answer? And then there's another gap. Christ, it's taken us 10 minutes to get the answer. Why has it got so slow and boring and bland? I don't watch any quiz shows at all. Of course, the master of game shows and quizzes shows, the great Bob Monkhouse, knew what he was doing, didn't he? If you don't know what quiz shows used to be like, just go on YouTube and type in Bob's Full House and see how fast moving that is. What's 1 + 1? Dude, 2, that's correct. What's 3 + 5? Dude, 8, that's correct. What's the river that runs through London? Dude, is it the Turpentine? No, it's not the Turpentine. Dude, is it the Thames? That's right, 2 points. And it was like that. Not anymore. On a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 would be the lightest and 10 would be the highest, how brown should toast be? Now, I don't know. If it was a 3... And it's like that. And they're drawing out these answers. It's so boring. I mean, the bloke presenting it's nice enough, that pointless bloke. I think I've watched about 5 minutes of that before I turned it off. It's bland and boring. And why is it on every day? What's happened to the scheduling? What on earth happened to Easter, to the Easter schedules? I do not know. Where was, like, the religious films and things like that that we always used to have? There was nothing exciting about Easter schedules at all. EastEnders was in the same place, as was Coronation Street. It was all in the same place. It was nothing nothing unusual. We continued with, I think, Line of Duty, which I have yet to watch. But usually, all these things are pulled out and we have some films on and specials and stuff like that. There was nothing like that at all, was there? Boring. I'm going to sneeze again, I think. I think I've got something stuck up my nose. It's probably a hair up there. This goes on. Mr. Mosley. This is who's talking about this. He used to be a BBC executive. Mr. Mosley says there's a sense that having cried wolf for many decades, Auntie Beeb really is now at risk of being eaten. There is doubt about the BBC's ability to remain relevant to the entirety of the UK population. I think they just concentrate on the cities. I do. And young people all the time. Where's the comedies that used to make me laugh? Why do I have to keep going back on old comedies all the time? Dad's Army. Are You Being Served? It Ain't Half Hot, Mum. They don't run that one anymore, do they? They ain't run off... Ain't half hot, Mum. Case it offends someone. It's bloody run in Dubai, for Christ's sake. They have it on the telly in Dubai, but they can't run it here in case it offends someone. We don't see Are You Being Served anymore. Is that offensive to gay people? Because Mr. Huntsford, I'm not offended. Why would I be offended? It's funny. God knows what they've been teaching people at universities and schools to get to this point. So they can't watch anything with it. But I think that's really offensive. You've got to say, oh, okay, we'll take it off the air straight away. Idiots. Questions are looming about whether the public will still be willing to pay the licence fee. I'm not happy paying it. I was always a BBC man. Always a big supporter of the BBC. But not anymore. Not anymore. It's become bland and boring. That seems to have happened since they got rid of the Globe. Bring the Globe back. And questions are... The BBC Director General Tony Hall last year admitted the BBC's spending had become unsustainable. And this month, the cost of a licence jumps £4 to £154.50 a year. The BBC is also considering scrapping the free licence fee for the over 75s. Why? Why are you doing that? Admit claims bosses are wasting money chasing a younger audience, which they do. They do. That's Stacey Dooley crying every 5 minutes when she sees something sad. Oh, awful presentation. Meanwhile, the corporation has used nearly £100 million of public money collecting the licence fee. So it costs them £100 million to collect the licence fee. Gosh. But there's a lot of bland stuff. Apparently, and I hadn't noticed that, but they've even shortened the news at 10 now. Is that right? They've now shortened the BBC's news at 10. Of course, it used to be the news at 9, didn't it? And then ITV really mucked up and started moving their 10 o'clock news to other slots, depending on what time the latest film finished. Oh, it'd be 10:15 today. So the BBC jumped in. This is some years ago. So, okay, we'll have the 10 o'clock slot. And it's been very successful. And now some idiots decided to shorten it. For what? Another episode of Bake a Cake or something like that. God's sake, what a load of old crap on the television. Thank God for Netflix. I'm glad I got Netflix. I think scheduling of TV will disappear at some point as well. I can see that happening. You know, the announcer in between the programmes and that. I mean, kind of, what's that for? Don't really need that anymore, do we? Someone has decided, oh, we can save another £200,000 a year there, and they'll get rid of that as well. It'll all be on demand, won't it? The whole thing will be on demand. You know, well, let's watch Dad's Army and bring up a menu and click Dad's Army and it'll just start playing. You won't have to be there at well, you don't have to be there now at 7 o'clock or whatever time it is on a Saturday night and took BBC Two on. Do you know what I mean? Now on BBC Two, that will all go. All those announcers' jobs will go, and I think it's a shame. But times move on. I've said before, you know, the whole ITV thing. When we had little presentations like Tom Edwards. Tom Edwards, he did Thames and London Weekend. Philip, I only really know the people down in London because that's where I was at the time. And you had someone down in the south, someone in Wales, someone in Yorkshire, someone in Norwich, two people in Scotland, someone in the borders. And, you know, bloke like me, sitting in between the programmes, telling you what was coming on next. Nice and friendly. All gone. All gone. All gone. Replaced by a faceless logo, which incidentally looks bloody awful. And a tartan one the other day. ITV in tartan. What's all that about? Awful. Let's just go back a little bit there. Oh, okay. How far do we want to go? If you had a dinner party, what 4 people would you love to have, dead or alive? Margaret Thatcher, Barry Manilow, John Pertwee, and the Queen. There you go. 4 people I've had at a dinner party. But it wouldn't be come dine with me, dear. You're not going to get me to cook your fish and chips and then slag me off on camera. Rob says, I think you'd be a great B&B house, Chris. I could see you in the programme, 4 in a bed, where they take it in turns to go to each other's B&Bs, bed and breakfasts. Within the week, at the end of each programme, they rate the bed and breakfast for cleanliness. I could see you causing mayhem on that programme. Yeah, but it would just be for the show. It would only be for the show. I'm sorry I'm moving around a bit. My back's hurting a little bit. You couldn't go to someone's house at the kindness of their heart and then go and tell them, well, thanks for letting me say, but I found your house a little bit dirty and your cooking's rank. How can you do that? How rude are you to do that? No. There are some times where you should keep your bloody mouth shut. Actually, there's something I'm doing at the moment. I can't say what it is because it might hurt the people who are involved. All I'm saying is that I'm helping someone to do something at the moment, and it's a bit of a mess. It's a bit of a mess. But because I think it might hurt this people's feelings after they've put so much time and effort into it, I keep my mouth shut. Because I think it might hurt them. I think when it happens, it's going to be a real mess. But I'm not going to say anything. Because I think it would hurt their feelings. I'm a bit worried, actually. But it'll all be over and done with soon. You know, there are some times where you should just keep your bloody mouth shut, I think. I honestly do think that. And if you've gone to someone's house... No, and we're not talking a hotel where you've paid £200 to stay in a posh room and been disappointed. Absolutely. Go and say something then. But if it's like like a family member or a friend or something like that, and you go into their house and they put you up for the night and there's a bed there and there's thank you, and you get up in the morning, you've had your breakfast. I hope your stay was all right here. Well, actually, I didn't really like the breakfast. The eggs weren't done quite so well. I beg your pardon. And the sheets weren't ironed properly. I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon? How dare you? There are times when you should be grateful. It's another story here, funnily enough. It's not. I've lost it. Where's that gone? Okay, it was a mother, a new mother who had been given a pram as a present. I think it was in the Daily Mirror, possibly in the Daily Mirror. Let me see. Shall I see if I can quickly find it? I think it was a Daily Mirror. Let's have a quick look. I thought I had that up there somewhere. Maybe it's in. Where's that going to be? Ooh, weird news. Maybe weird news. No, it's not there. Oh, I can't find it now. Anyway, someone had given her a pram. And she says, thanks very much, but it's a bit big and bulky. And I'm like, you've been given a pram. Now, ladies, you know how much prams are. They're not cheap items, are they? She was given a pram and then complained that it was too big and bulky. How rude are you? Just accept the pram. If you don't use it, don't use it. But accept it and put it away somewhere and thank the person for giving it to you. Rude. Dreadful people. Morning to Guillermo. Morning, ravishing Chris, really. Morning, Guillermo. Daily, get me on BBC Primetime. More entertaining. I doubt that, Daniel. This is very niche, what I do. Very, very niche. Okay. Weird Cities. So Bruce Forsyth was a legend. Yes, indeed. Good old Brucey. Brad, the answer is always 2 scoops of raisin brain. Do you mean bran? Weird City may boycott the BBC TV licence. I am the resistance. I like that. Rob, thing is, I can't stand with the BBC it's all about their London. London is a percentage of the UK. That's not the be all and end of the UK. Well, you would think that, and yet they're in Manchester now. They moved. They spent moving the entire thing to Manchester from the White City, and I just don't get that at all. Because it was too much London-centric. Oh, it's all rubbish, all rubbish. Rob says, I reckon it had been shortened for a replay of Question of Sport. There's another... Oh, don't say sport. Nothing has me grabbing the channel change more quickly than when you watch the news. And now here's the sports news. Click off. Uninteresting. Not interesting at all, sports news. We go on the offence. Offence is taken, not given. If you're offended, then it's your problem. I go along with that, Mike. I think so. Hello to Geordie in Auckland, New Zealand. Good morning to Geordie, who's just joining us there on Vaughan Live. A very good evening to you. Paul, hello to Paul. You've got a picture of Sir Cliff in a calendar. Are you a fan? Where? Well, that's not Sir Cliff, dear. That's Barry Manilow, only the greatest entertainer of all time, playing at the moment in Las Vegas. Cliff Richards. Paul, you need some more glasses, mate. Good morning to Ray Reynolds. Morning, Ray. And Katie says it's not what you say, it's how you say it. You're absolutely right. Weird City Citizen, the art of diplomacy is dying. It certainly is. It certainly is. Anyway, you know, people need to be a bit more grateful for what they've got, I think, and to not always speak up. Not always have an opinion when a kindness has been done. And don't you hate that when you go out to someone with a restaurant and all they do is bloody well moan? You've taken them out for dinner. Oh, could you do this? Oh, I'm not really happy with this. You've taken them out. Rude. I hate it. And I can't stand hassle. People that want special attention for something all the time. You know. Oh, we're sitting here. Oh, could we move to another seat, please? You've bought the ticket. How rude. Just accept it and bloody well sit down in that seat and stop moaning. I can't bear people that moan. I really can't. Right, let's do today's birthdays, boys and girls. Happy birthday. We'll do yesterday's as well because we weren't here yesterday, of course. Happy birthday on this Monday, the 22nd of April, 2019 to Mr. Patrick Devlin, my cousin Patrick Devlin, who's 52 years old today. I saw him last year. Was it last year or the year before? I can't remember, Pat. But happy birthday to Patrick. Happy birthday to Maz Total Rock. Good morning to you. Mad Maz, that is. Antony Marshall. Good morning, Antony. I love that picture there. That's a good image with the red hat and the chain on there. Good morning, Antony. Happy birthday to you. Adam Russell today is 39 years old. Joanne Green Ecker. Happy birthday, Joanne, to you. And Brian McCann is 49 years old on this Monday, the 22nd of April. Yesterday's birthdays. Sunday, of course, Easter Sunday birthday. That's the 21st of April. For Kelly Marshall, 38 years old yesterday. Laura English, singer extraordinaire, comes along to the karaoke sometimes. Happy birthday, Laura, for yesterday. Martin James O'Neill, yesterday was 39 years old. Joe Story. Morning to you, Joy. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Joy Story. Joy Story, good morning. Andrew Durkin, 42 years old yesterday. Martin O'Neill was 39 years old yesterday. Martin, oh, there you are. Martin O'Neill, there you are. Felix Tibbs, it says you're 102. I think that might be wrong there. Diarmuid Dineen, good morning. Happy birthday for yesterday. Paul Harper, who I worked with. Good morning, Paul. 50 years old. 50. God, 50 years old to Paul Harper. Jimmy Barber, lovely picture of a dog there. Good morning, Jimmy. Michelle Jeanette Bennett, good morning. 40 years old yesterday. And that's it. They're all the birthdays for today and yesterday, boys and girls. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Joanne, I hope you managed to get your earplugs in then on time, my darling. All right. Thanks ever so much, gang. It's Monday tonight, so I'll be hosting karaoke. There it is at Central Station. Our usual karaoke night this evening. Easter Monday karaoke starts at 7:30 and goes through until 11 o'clock. Cheap drinks as well. Central Station, 37 Wharfdale Road, King's Cross in London. is the venue for tonight's Monday night karaoke from 7:30. Have a lovely day, boys and girls, and I'll see you again very soon for the next show. Cheerio now.